Hunted down by Henry Kendall. 2 years had the tiger, whose shape was that of a sinister man, been out since the night of escape, 2 years under hour and ban. In a time full of thunder and rain, when hurricanes hackled the tree, he slipped through the sludge of the drain, and swam a fierce fog of the sea. Through the roar of a storm and a ring and a wild savage whistle of hail, did the snaked, whipped, disseparated thing break loose from the guards of a gaol, and breasting the foam of a bay and facing the fangs of a bight. With a great cruel cry on his way, he dashed through the darkness of night. But foiled was the terror of Finn, and baffed the strength of the tide, for a devil supported his chin, and Finn kept a watch at his side. And hands of iniquity dressed the hellish hyena and gave him food in the hills of the west and sails of indefinite cave, when, strengthened and rapid, the spear of a brood on the track of its prey sprang out and shed sorrow and fear through the beautiful fields of a day. And pillage and murder and worse swept peace from the face of the land, the black, bitter work of his curse with the blood on his infamous hand. But wolf of the hills at the end chased back to the depths of his lair, had howl for neighbor and friend he sobbed in the dark with despair. A whisper, a leaf, or a breath of wind in the watch of the night was ever as message of death to this devil bent double with fright. For now were the hunters abroad, and the fiend, like an adder at bay, cast out of the sight of the Lord, in the folds of his faintnesses lay. Ye are skulking in pits of slime and venomous dens of eclipse, he covered and bind his time, with a white malice set on his lips. 2 years had his shadow been cast in forest, on highway and one, but Nemesis tracked him at last, and swept him from under the sun. Fool felons in chains were ashamed to speak of a bloodthirsty thing, who lived like a panther inflamed, the life that no singer can sing, who butchered one night in a wild free woman, a lad and a maid, and cut the sweet throat of a child, its mother's pure blood on his plate. But over the plains and away by the range and the forest lake, rode hard for week and day the terrible tracker Dick Blake. Dick Blake had the scent of a hound, the eye of a lynx, and could track where never a sign on the ground of a rock could be seen by the black. A racer at large, when he heard that Black was out hard at his heels, felt just as a wilderness bird, and the snare fettered hopelessly feels. And, hence, when a wolf with a brand of Cain written thrice on his face knew a terrible Dick was at hand, he slung like a snake to his place, to the depths of his kennel he crept, far back in the passage dim. But Blake and his mates never slept, they haunted and listened for him. The mountains were many, but he who had captured big terrible Bill, the slayer of Hawkins and Lee, found tracks by Conkle Hill. There were 3 in the party, no more, Dick Blake and his brother and one, who came from a faraway shore, caught here by the blood of his son. 2 nights and 2 days did we wait on the trail of a cursed of one man, but on the 3rd morning a fate led Dick to the door of the dawn. And the thunder ran up from the south and smote all the woods into sound, and Blake, with an oath on his mouth, called out to the fiend underground. But the answer was blue, bitter lead, and the brother of Dick with a cry fell back, and the storm overheats at night like a seal on the sky. And the strength of the hurricane tore asunder hill throat apart, and the rushing of rain and the roar made when the green rights of the world, the flame and roll and ring, and the hiss of the thunder and hail, set fear in the face of a spring laid bare to the arrow of gale. But he and the flash and the din, and the cry of a mountain and wave, Dick Blake through the shadow dashed in and strangled the wolf in his cave.